The first contraction hit me like a physical blow, sharp and sudden. I was standing in the kitchen washing a glass, and the force of it made me drop it into the sink. It didn't shatter, but the clatter echoed in the silent house. I gasped, my hand flying to my swollen belly. Another one followed quickly, twisting my insides like a wet rag. Panic, hot and sharp, clawed at my throat. I had thought I had more time, but beneath the panic, a deeper, colder dread settled in. I knew I had to ask them for help. I had to face them. I found them in the living room, the television casting a blue glow on their faces. They looked up as I entered, their expressions impatient. "Please, Dad," I choked out, my voice already ragged with pain and the effort of walking. Tears were blurring my vision, hot against my skin. "It's time. The baby is coming. Take me to the hospital. I'm begging you." He stood there, a statue of disapproval, his shadow long and menacing under the single-floor lamp. His eyes were hard, unfeeling stones. He didn't move. He didn't even blink. His reply was a hammer blow to my soul, shattering the last fragile piece of hope I had clung to. "Die on the road if you must. Don't embarrass us further. My name is Hannah Cooper. I am 27 years old." And that was the night my parents abandoned me, their own daughter, in my most vulnerable moment. What they didn't know was that leaving me there, doubled over in agony on the cold pavement, would change their lives forever. It would change everything. My mom stood beside him, a silent partner in his cruelty. She rose from her chair, folding her arms tight across her chest. It was a familiar gesture, a wall she built around herself. Her lips were a thin, disapproving line. I searched her face for a flicker of sympathy, of maternal instinct, of anything. I found nothing but a deep, cold disdain. "You made your choice with that man, Hannah," she said, her voice flat and steady. Each word was a tiny chip of ice. "You knew how we felt about him. You knew this would happen. Now face the consequences." The next contraction seized me, stronger this time. It stole my breath. I cried out, a raw animal sound of pain. I staggered forward, my hand reaching out instinctively for the car door, for anything to steady myself as Dad brushed past me towards the garage. They were really doing it. They were leaving. My legs felt weak, unsteady. "Mom, please," I whispered, the word lost in the night air, but they were already in the car. The engine hummed, then roared to life. I watched, helpless, as the red taillights glowed, then receded down the street, turning the corner and vanishing into the darkness. They left me alone. I was left there, doubled over in agony, on the cold, hard sidewalk in front of the house I grew up in. Every passing car felt like a spotlight on my shame, my pain. Headlights swept over me, illuminating my crumpled figure for a moment before plunging me back into darkness. People glanced. I could see their faces, fleeting impressions of surprise, pity, or indifference. A car slowed, a woman's face in the passenger seat filled with concern, but the driver, a man, shook his head and sped up. No one stopped. No one helped. They just hurried on with their lives, their warm cars taking them to safe homes, while my life felt like it was ending right there on a suburban street. The chill from the pavement seeped into my bones. I managed to stumble a few houses down, leaning against the cold brick wall of the corner grocery store, its windows dark and empty. The contractions were coming faster now, one after another, a relentless, brutal assault. My breath hitched in ragged sobs. My own parents, the two people who were supposed to protect me, to love me unconditionally, had turned their backs. They had left me to suffer, to maybe even die, all to protect their pride. The realization hit me harder than any physical pain. It was a searing, emotional wound that felt far more fatal than the labor. Between the waves of pain, my mind drifted, pulled into the past. Memories flashed, quick and sharp, each one another small cut. My high school graduation. I had worked so hard, staying up late to study while my sister Sarah was out with friends. I walked across that stage, diploma clutched in my hand, my heart bursting with a shy pride. I searched the crowd for them. My parents. They were there, yes, but their applause was polite, hesitant, swallowed by the roar of other, more enthusiastic families. Later, they took a few pictures. "Good job, Hannah," Dad had said, a distracted pat on my shoulder. Then Sarah, who hadn't even come to the ceremony, arrived for the family dinner looking beautiful. "Oh, Sarah, you look absolutely stunning," Mom had gushed. Let's get a picture of just you and us. I stood off to the side, holding my diploma, feeling like a ghost at my own celebration. I remembered countless nights in our kitchen. I would come home from my part-time job, tired to my bones, but I would start dinner without being asked. I would cook, clean up, make sure everything was perfect. Sarah would be in the living room watching TV, scrolling through her phone. One night I was exhausted. I asked her, "Sarah, can you please just set the table?" My mother overheard from the doorway. "Let your sister rest, Hannah," she'd said, her voice sharp. "She had a long day shopping. You're the one who likes being in the kitchen anyway." It wasn't about liking it. It was about it being expected of me. I was the responsible one, the quiet one, the one who didn't cause trouble, the one who didn't need their attention. Or so they made me feel. And then, the sharpest memory of all, the day I told them I was pregnant. I had sat them down, my hands trembling. David, the baby's father, had been so excited. We were in love. We were making plans. But he had to leave for a 6-month deployment just a week later. We thought we had time. I told my parents all of this, my voice shaking with a mix of fear and hope. Hope that they would see my happiness. My father's face had turned to stone. "You've ruined your life," he said, his voice low and dangerous. "And you're bringing shame on this family. An unmarried mother. What will people say? We'll get married as soon as David is back," I'd pleaded. "He'll never come back for you," my mother had said, her words a cold, final judgment. "Men like that don't. You were a fool to trust him." From that day on, I was an embarrassment, a problem to be managed. My pregnancy was not a joy, but a stain on their reputation. David's letters stopped coming a month ago. I didn't know why, but my parents saw it as proof. They saw it as their victory. "We told you so," their silent glances said every single day. This betrayal on the sidewalk wasn't a sudden act of cruelty. It was the final, logical step in a lifetime of small abandonments. It was the cruelest, yes. The most dangerous. But it wasn't the first. Just when I thought I couldn't take it anymore, when the darkness felt like it was closing in for good, a voice cut through my pain. "Honey, are you all right? You need help. Now." I looked up, blinking through tears. A middle-aged woman stood over me, her face creased with genuine concern. She had kind eyes even in the dim streetlight. She knelt beside me, her hand gently touching my shoulder. It was the first gentle touch I'd felt all night. I'm in labor," I managed to whisper, a fresh wave of pain making my body tremble uncontrollably. "Oh, my dear God. We need to get you to the hospital." She didn't hesitate. She didn't ask questions or judge. She just acted. She scanned the empty street, then flagged down a passing cab, waving her arms with such authority that it screeched to a halt beside us. "To the hospital, quickly," she told the driver, her voice firm. She helped me into the back seat, her arm a strong, steady support around my back. Then she climbed in beside me, taking my hand in hers. Her grip was warm and reassuring. "Breathe, honey," she whispered, her voice a calming presence in the storm of my pain. "Just breathe with me. We're almost there. You're so strong," I cried then, not just from the pain, but from the overwhelming relief of her kindness. A complete stranger was showing me more compassion, more basic human decency than my own mother. For the first time in hours, I wasn't alone. Her name was Maria. She was an angel in a beige coat who saved me. The hospital was a blur of bright lights, hushed, urgent voices, and waves of pain. But Maria stayed with me until the nurses took over, giving my hand one last squeeze. "You can do this," she said. She was right. Hours later, after an eternity of effort and exhaustion, a new sound filled the sterile hospital room. It was a cry. My son's cry. I opened my eyes, every muscle in my body aching, but my heart wide awake. The nurse laid him on my chest. He was so tiny, so fragile, so perfect. His skin was soft against mine, his little fingers curled into a fist. Tears streamed down my face, washing away the pain, the fear, the abandonment. This was love. Pure, overwhelming, unconditional love. He was here. My beautiful boy. I decided to name him Leo, for the lion heart he had, and the one he had given me. "Hello, Leo," I whispered, my voice thick with emotion. "I'm your mom. I will never leave you. I will always protect you. You will always know you are loved." He was my miracle, my reason to keep standing. Days later, they showed up. My parents. They walked into my hospital room not with apologies, not with gifts for their new grandson, but with demands. They looked rested, well-dressed, and completely out of place in the sacred, quiet space of new motherhood. My mother's eyes swept over me, then over Leo sleeping in his bassinet. A flicker of something, disapproval, disgust, crossing her face before she composed it into a mask of false concern. My father spoke, getting straight to the point. His voice was cold and cutting. "Sign over custody to us, Hannah," he sneered, not even bothering to glance at my son again. "Let's be realistic. You're too weak to raise him. You're a mess. You have no job, no support. David is gone. How will you manage? We'll do it our way. We'll give him a proper life." Their cruelty hadn't ended on the sidewalk. It had only taken a new, more insidious form. They wanted to take my son. They wanted to erase my choice, my motherhood, and rewrite the story with them as the saviors. But I was no longer the girl they could easily control. Holding Leo, I had found a strength I never knew I possessed. What they didn't know was that I hadn't been idle. In the hospital, I had talked to the social worker. I had told her everything. Every single detail of that night. Every brutal word my father had said. She listened, her face grave, and helped me document their abandonment. We got it all down on paper. The date, the time, their exact words, the location. Then Maria, my guardian angel, had visited. She gave me the number of a lawyer. "He's the best," she'd said. "He helps women like us." I called him from my hospital bed. He listened patiently to the entire story. "Hannah," he'd said, his voice calm but firm. "Their actions are not just cruel. They are illegal. It's called child abandonment and endangerment, even if the child is a vulnerable adult in your state. We can fight this." Every cruel word they had ever spoken, every dismissive action, every instance of favoritism towards Sarah, it all became part of a documented history of emotional neglect. It showed a pattern. When they tried to fight me in court, they were blindsided. They expected me to be a weeping, helpless victim. They found a prepared and determined mother instead. The courtroom was quiet, almost eerily so. My parents sat on one side, looking stiff and indignant, their own expensive lawyer beside them. I sat on the other, holding Leo close, my lawyer by my side. My father glared at me, his eyes full of rage. I met his gaze, and for the first time in my life, I didn't flinch. The proceedings began. My lawyer presented the social worker's report. He read from the transcript of my statement, and my father's own words, raw and brutal, echoed back at him, filling the silent courtroom. "Die on the road if you must. Don't embarrass us further." The words hung in the air, heavy and undeniable. A murmur went through the room. I saw my mother's face pale. Then Maria took the stand, a calm, credible witness who described finding me alone in labor, on a cold sidewalk. The look on my parents' faces as they realized the depth of the evidence against them was something I will never forget. Their composure crumbled. The mask of respectability fell away, revealing the ugly truth underneath. The judge's gavel came down, a sharp, final sound that sealed their fate. Full custody to me. It was never in doubt. And then the restraining orders. They were not to contact me. They were not to come near my son. Their attempt to take my child had backfired spectacularly. Their reputation, built on appearances and carefully curated respectability, was shattered. Their pride, once so immense and unyielding, was destroyed by their own actions, by their own cold-heartedness. They had tried to break me, to erase me. Instead, they had broken themselves. I rocked Leo gently in my arms, his soft weight a comforting anchor in my new life. He was my whole world, a testament to resilience, to the power of a mother's love. Looking at his peaceful, sleeping face, I knew deep in my soul that love, not blood, defines family. The family I had yearned for, the one I had never truly had, I would build now with him, on a foundation of truth, kindness, and unwavering protection. I had survived. I had not died on the road. I had lived, and I had won. If you've ever survived betrayal from those meant to protect you, if you've ever been left alone by the people who should have loved you most, you are not alone. Your pain is real, and your strength is real too. Silence never wins against cruelty. Speak your truth. Find your own family. Hit like, subscribe, and share, because our stories deserve to be heard.